I'm back, and here I am today at Rescue Cabin again. Now, I cut out all the rotten parts of this floor, and there's got to be a couple of floor joists put in here. So I mean, it's not a rebuild completely, it's just a matter of fixing it, which is why I'm calling it Rescue Cabin. I'm just trying to save it and make it better than it was. And of course, you know, I'm doing best I can with what I've got. So this is where the toilet was, and I think that beam there is a bit high, because when I put a level on the floor here, see right there, it's not bad. But once it leaves that beam there in the center, it sort of goes uphill there. So I don't know. That's another thing to think about. But I think how I'm going to approach this is I have a new rim joist or floor joist that's going to go from that corner all the way to that end. And I think I'm going to cut that rotten one out and change that first. I'm going to put a jack under here to support it. And you know, it's just a single story building, so there's not a lot of weight there. I can cut that out, drop that out, put a new one in, and we'll do that first. And then we've got a reference point to kind of try and level, you know, front to back. And then we'll try and bring the rest of this stuff into it. So that's the plan. I mean, it's anyone's guess how to start this. You know, you could start over there, put those floor joists in. It doesn't really matter. Just I'm going to start over there. That seems like a logical first step. And if it's not a logical first step, we'll find out.
There was a whole bunch of ants crawled out of that beam when I cut it off over there. Look at that. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful? What's happening? Okay, look at this now. Oh man. All the fun that I thought it would be. I think the building was holding up the beam. Look at that. Oh. Oh, wow, wow. Oh, wow.
And I've got some floor joists put in here. I put pressure treated. I put those on 16-inch centers. As you remember, I've talked before about the spacing that used to be on these floor joists. These were 4 feet on center here. So last year I put some floor joists in the middle. I split it at 24. So there's one there at 24, that one at 24. I've just added a couple of floor joists in here, 2x6. In this space here. This was more than 4 feet. And so I'm ready to, almost ready to put down the plywood. I've got a couple of things left to do. That floor joist over there is pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to saw on that line beside it. I'm going to cut it a little bit to the outside for my plywood to fit. And I'm going to put another floor joist there beside it, sister it, so we'll have a nailing surface for the plywood. We're going to be putting down 3/4 inch standard plywood over all of this. And I'll show you over here. I joined the beam, and I put a post there, and I've got an angle bracket I'm going to put in that corner there. It was kind of hard to nail, and so I got to put an angle bracket in there. This is all level, and it's ready for the 3/4 plywood here as well. And then, of course, as you know, there's 3/4 plywood going down, and then there's going to be 5/8 going over the whole top of it. So it'll make it pretty strong, even though there's pretty good gaps between some of these floor joists. I got it as level as I can. I put a post there. I changed that post there. The one on the end was okay, but I lowered this corner about 3 inches. It was quite high. And the other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to change this wall. This is all loose and wiggly and weird. and there was a door here, and it's really short. It's all out of whack and weird, and so that door is coming right out of there for this year. So what I'm going to do is just I'm going to frame this in just in 2x4s and sheathe it in plywood and just paint the outside of the plywood for this year. And I'll figure out what to do with that area. I have some ideas for next year, but sort of wrapping it up here for this year. So I want to get this buttoned up. And what I've got here is I've got one of these lights I talked about to a friend of mine there on YouTube. This is an LED light, 4,000 lumens, and they were on sale for $24. And so I got a couple more of these. They're pretty good. They're handy work lights. They come with a 5-foot cord. And I mentioned that to Mike at Grampy's Workshop. I don't know if he's going to get any for over his bench, but if you haven't checked out Mike, go over and check out Mike at Grampy's Workshop. He's got a lot of projects on the go over there. He's got a good channel. And we're always carrying on about one thing or another. But I know that today he's out buying season tickets for the Maple Leafs. I think that's his hockey team he cheers for. So he's probably won't get to see this right away. But yeah. Anyway, that's those lights. If he, I put it to him to see if he wanted to go buy some, but I don't know if he did. But anyway, like I say, he's busy today with that, getting these season tickets. So anyway, couple of things left to do. I'm gonna clear out that stuff that's under there, and I also have a product I'm going to use in here that to deal with the ants, because we did have an ant problem in that outer beam. The one I changed, and we had a few other spots where there was some ants. So I don't want those to continue. So I got some ant killer I'm going to use, and I'll show you what that is. So I'm going to use some borax and sugar. That's what that little container is right there. I mix up like 1 teaspoon of just household borax with 4 or 5 teaspoons of sugar, and you mix it up and you leave it out where the ants will get to it, and they'll take that back to the nest, and it'll destroy the nest. It interferes with their ability to digest food, and that's the way it is. But there's a product here, Ant Be Gone Max. I got this morning, and it's these little cans, and I'm going to put that out too. Now there's a fellow on YouTube has a good channel, and it's called Steve Robb Reviews, and he did a review of the liquid version of this last week. And yeah, if you haven't checked out Steve Robb Reviews on YouTube, by all means go over there. He's got a video every week. He's up in the 50,000s of subscribers, and he's got a good channel there. He's got something every week, something different, something you might not have seen. So go over there and check out Steve Robb Reviews. I'll put the link in the description. Anyway, so I'm going to put this Ant Be Gone traps. I'm going to put a few down in here before I put the floor down. I mean, I could always reach up later and put them in, but I'm going to sit a couple in there. And then as I go around here, I put a post there yesterday, and I might sit one of these traps on top of that. And mind you, these are pressure treated, so the bugs aren't going to get in those. But there are quite a few beams in here that aren't pressure treated. So I'm going to distribute, there's 10 in here, so I'm going to put them all underneath the cabin throughout as we go. Now, that's pretty sketchy, that corner there. I had a hard time nailing that with a hammer, right? So an air nailer would have been better, but I got a couple of sketchy things here for sketchy cabin. I'm going to put that 90-degree piece of angle in there. It's drilled both sides, so I'm going to nail that in there. That should be strong enough, and if that doesn't work, I'm going to use one of these shelf brackets that'll help hold it. It's not going anywhere, I don't think, but just some little thing there something there for the future, for someone to look under there and say, what were they thinking? Why did they put that under there? So yeah, the ants were into this beam here a little bit too, right there, but it's still pretty sound, so I just don't want them to do any more damage than they have. So yeah, a couple more things to do, and then we're going to I'm going to take out my temporary brace. I'm going to put a block or two under those studs just to hold it on the beam, because that's pretty much what's holding this end of it up, I think. I don't know. There's not much weight to this place anyway, but it's always a little bit of settling that might occur. So I'm going to support a couple of bits over there, but I want to put a full sheet of plywood in here, right? So that's going to be in the way. There, getting there. You got to resist the temptation to just smack the plywood down there, because I found a couple of other things I had to do. I drew a line there and I cut those boards straight across there. So they're sitting on one floor joist and there's the other one for the plywood. That was kind of ragged. I realized when I measured across here that I needed some blocks. So I put some blocks in there to catch the edge of the plywood. And I bagged over that sewer outlet. I put a paint can lid on it, fit perfectly. And then I put a heavy duty garbage bag and then taped it to the pipe. So that's good for now. The toilet's not going in this year, so that's fine. It may not even be in that same location. It might be, I think it may be over here in this little area. Anyway, so it's level. It's level both ways. And I've got those shims broken off there. It's supported right now on those blocks and on this little post. There's not much weight trying to come down anyway. Okay, I've got the measurements for that piece of plywood. I'm going to put that 3/4 piece in there. And I'm going to put a piece of 3/4 in here. And then I guess I'll put this one in too and that one. But what it is I've got to get this wall changed tomorrow because the weather's going to change. So I'm got to, I want to get both layers of plywood down before I build the wall onto it. So I might be working a little later this evening, burning the midnight oil. Hey, but I got the light. Look at that LED light, how it lights things up. The other thing is this ant stuff I'm going to use. I'm going to put those in later. I'm just going to reach up under and put them on the frame. I don't want them to fall out while I'm banging around in here. So anyway, it pays to clean up, you know, quite often when you're doing this kind of work, because I actually stop several times during the day and clean up because you can trip over stuff. And I didn't have it on film, but a few minutes ago I did an upender coming out of there. Oh man, that was almost the end of me. Well, guess what I did? I had this upside down. I was trying to make a nice neat edge on the top, but it's the sub layer, right? But I measured 92.5 on one side and 90.5 on the other, and it's backwards. So I got to put it in upside down, but that's okay. All right. So, like I say, I bring you the good and I bring you the bad. I bring you everything that happens. Let me see here. Get that in there. Ugh. I don't know if we're going to be able to swing that. Get that in past the corner. Oh yeah, I think it'll go. Look at that. Okay, let's go get the rest of it and see what it looks like from the inside. I bring you the successes and the failures, the gravy and the lumpy gravy. So here we go. Yeah, see, it was shorter on this side, and I was trying to be smart. I thought, oh no, I'll cut that upside down because it'll make a nice neat edge on the bottom. And then, of course, I got it wrong. There it is. See, I wanted, it's a little shorter here because of the way that other old floor joist was in crooked, but that'll be fine. Anyway, that's all for today, and got it pretty level. That's quite good. And just one second. Yes, I promise. Work is done for the day. Just one second. Yes, I promise you. Work is done for the day, and tonight it's just going to be you and me, and that's all. Nobody else. Just you and me, okay? Come here. Come on over and show yourself to everybody. It's just going to be me and my Tylenol and my aspirin tonight. Oh, man, I'm sore. See you tomorrow. And I got some painting to do here. I'm going to paint these sheets of plywood before I build the wall with them. That's the last sheet there. Pretty good, eh? Slide this baby over. There we go. And I gotta square it up to the edge. Okay, it's gotta come up a little bit on that side. Not much. Let's see. Yeah, that's almost it there. A little bit over there. A little bit over. Let's try that. Oh, it's going to come back that way now. Anyway, I'll get that in place and screw it down. Yeah. I'm going to put a screw right there in the corner. And I can swing that other end out. Yeah, it's going to be good. Oh, this place is so exciting. Okay, I got a laser line on this wall here. Okay, now let's get out of the way here for a second. But all right, you can see it's almost at the bottom of that 2x4 there, and then okay, it kind of runs over there. But take note of this. This is the top plate, I guess you could call it. It's a beam they've put up there. So right here, you're about 1.5 inches from the bottom of that top plate. All right, and over here, it just gets higher and higher and higher and higher. You know, you're kind of 2.5 inches here, right? Another inch. So it's out of whack by at least 1 inch, maybe 1.5 inches. And so I don't know if I can change it. The roof seems to be set like that. I don't know if I lifted that up, it might just blow everything else out of whack. But I got a jack in here. I'm just gonna put this over here. Just gonna take a little bit of a look at that while I'm doing it. I'm just gonna jack it up a little teeny bit, see what happens. I don't know if it's gonna have any effect. I don't think the building wants to move that in that way. Let's see here. Okay, I was able to lift it just a little bit there. They're all, because of that beams being sloped, they're all longer this way. It's about, what is it, what do you say, we figure 1 inch higher on that side, but that's how it's going, so it's going in. Okay, so that one's good. And it's plumb and nice and strong, nailed down. Now I just got to frame in here. And then I got that plywood I got to put on before dark because it's gonna rain really hard here overnight, and so I got to get that buttoned up. So yeah, so I've orientated this framing to the outside because this is thicker than standard. So the old stuff, you know, whatever it was, but I got it to the outside of where this other stud was and lined up with the floor. And I had to chisel a bit out of here to get the wall to line up down there. You want everything perpendicular there, so well, these little adjustments. Anyway, that's gonna be all right. And because of the ant problem we had, I figured I would just put pressure treated wood in. The grade of lumber is higher for pressure treated wood. They use a higher grade of lumber to make pressure treated wood than they do for standard lumber. The number ones, like when you go off a sawmill, number one lumber, that goes to export. That's export quality wood. That's the best the sawmill produces. And the domestic market, whether you're in Canada or the United States, doesn't matter where, the domestic market gets the number 2s. And sometimes it's not very good. You know, sometimes it's split and this and that and the other thing. But when they go to make pressure treated lumber, they use a higher grade of lumber. So it's usually the number 1s that get into pressure treated lumber. That's why it costs more for one. Plus it's got the copper preservative in it. Okay, so I ran out of 2x4s, so I'm gonna have to stick a stud in there later. But I'm halfway through putting that plywood on. I got one more sheet to put up here and one there. And that's gonna be it for today. I'm gonna go outside and give you some viewing pleasure by putting that up. Okay, so that's a wrap for today. Anyway, starting to look better. I gotta finish the floor over here. Match it to that one.